I've also looked at several other pictures and other videos that show a lot of these wildfires just so happen to be along roadways.
For the second time in 24 hours, a person in Western Washington has been arrested for trying to start a wildfire in our state.
You know, you can take that with a grain of salt. And I love how the media is running interference, saying that this is all, you know, conspiracy theory. It is not. There have been arrests, and this is exactly the kind of low-level sabotage that begins when you know, start going into insurrection away from agitators. Hello everybody, Terrence Popp here with another episode of Live from the Lair. Alright, so I'm going to start this off with a couple of announcements. There seems to be a rumor out there that we're going to pull all of our stuff down and stick it behind a paywall. Well, that's not true at all. We are setting up a paywall, and behind that paywall we're going to have live shows and you know, real-time stuff. And we're also going to have uncensored material. We've been catching all kinds of hell in regards to some of the stuff we put out in the past. And unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. It is what it is. We are still going to release material on all the other platforms as well. There might be a delay between the stuff that we do live and you know, putting it out on other platforms. Like I said, if it goes on another platform, more than likely it'll be pared down or censored. What are you gonna do? It's the nature of the beast. All right, now I want to go over some stuff that I have seen, you know, in the real world, and I review a lot of my sources. I go on the dark net, and there's quite a few news sites and other information, you know, underground sites where you get some pretty decent information. I don't take it verbatim, but you know, like any good intel analyst, you just take bits and pieces and you create a mosaic and you connect the dots, and a lot of times it gets you in the ballpark.
Are you sick of where Hollyweird is headed? Yeah! Do you prefer movies with actual stories and characters instead of political axe grinding?
The hatred and the division and blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to see it anymore.
Not So Sane Entertainment has been a proud sponsor of Redonkulas.com for years, and they will never apologize for anything. Because if this is art, this is a masterpiece.
Winning, no!
Gain access to every film in their catalog at notsosane.com today and use the coupon code POP2020 to get 10% off. Links are in the description.
Don't do that. Don't.
Now, you know, BLM, their support is tanking, and apparently they are actually below the support levels that they had at the beginning of the year. I believe they're at 9%, and they started off 2020 somewhere between 10 and 11%. One of the main reasons for this, and I think this is accurate, is one, the riots, the rampant violence that's going on, the chanting "Death to America." What the fuck? You want to talk about showing your hand? You know, they are doing this in spades, so don't be fooled. And I believe this is also linked to the ratings that are tanking for the professional sports out there. You know, I mean, a lot of people, they tune in to watch professional sports. They just want to turn off the brain, watch the game, and then they have all of these woke messages, and a lot of guys are just like, fuck this, I'm out. Like, for me, I'm done with professional sports for the rest of my life, barring, no, actually, I think that's pretty much accurate for me. I was never a big pro sports guy anyway, other than boxing and MMA type stuff, kickboxing. But that doesn't appear to be too super political, so I still watch that stuff. Let's see. There have been more arrests in regards to the wildfires that are burning across the western half of the United States. And it's amazing how they stop at the Mexican border, at the Canadian border. And year to date, Canada has lost roughly somewhere between 2 and 3% of the total acreage that we've burned up in the past 2 months. All right, I saw some footage out there that, was rather disturbing. And it was like 1 minute of footage of a drone flying over a wooded area, basically dumping lit fuel or napalm or some other incendiary liquid into the foliage below. I've also looked at several other pictures and other videos that show a lot of these wildfires just so happen to be along roadways.
For the second time in 24 hours, a person in western Washington has been arrested for trying to start a wildfire in our state.
You can take that with a grain of salt. And I love how the media is running interference, saying that this is all, conspiracy theory. It is not. There have been arrests, and this is exactly the kind of low-level sabotage that begins when you start going into insurrection away from agitators. This is guerrilla warfare 101. I mean, I've studied it for 3 decades. I know what I'm talking about. All right, now, the Barr and the Department of Justice is kicking around charging people with sedition. In my personal belief, this should have been done a long time ago. Historically, sedition has been hard to prove, make stick. It's kind of like a JV charge for treason. I'm glad that they're doing something like it. It's about time, because this is insane. This has been going on for months. The whole cities have been burned down, and they're organized, they're funded. It's an insurrection, and it needs to be addressed as such. Rumor has it that in these states that have a lot of problems in regards to riots, and they are not peaceful protests or semi-peaceful protests. There's talk that the state troopers in said states are going to be federally deputized so they can circumvent, the local George Soros prosecuting attorneys or district attorneys in those areas, which are letting a lot of these people off the hook and are reoffending and doing other bad things. This was done in Portland, and all of a sudden, after they made their first wave or second wave of arrests, the rioting is pretty much stopped. And they're starting to hit people with $1 million bonds and so forth, which, it's about time. It's ridiculous. But the thing is, if Trump can do that by basically turning the state police into federal deputies and shut it all down, then the governor in those states could have done the same thing with his state police, except, charge them at a state level instead of Trump doing it at a federal level. It basically it's basically this, is they just didn't want to do it. They wanted it to continue for some sick, twisted reason that, I just can't seem to wrap my head around. A lot of people have lost their livelihoods, their cities, and quite frankly, might never recover. Okay, now another thing that's getting kicked around by Barr is seeing if you can actually go after these governors and mayors of cities that allowed this to go down, and either go after them civilly or criminally. again, you know, I'm totally behind this because I'm sick and tired of this qualified immunity and people just, you know, I was just doing my job, blah, 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 and just doing egregious bullshit and getting away with it. All right. Rumor is that the rumor is there's going to be a huge siege/protest around the White House and Washington, D.C. up through the election. And they are pulling out of the secret squirrel labs a little insidious, oh, it's not little, it's actually a fairly big insidious weapon, which is an area denial device. What do they call it? They call it an LRAD, which basically makes you feel like you're on fire, but they could do it from a distance, actually farther out than small arms fire. So this ought to be interesting. And they also have something else, which the only words I have for it is a stun beam, where they use laser, and they basically hit you with the laser, and it agitates the ions in the air and the humidity, and then they basically put an electric charge down that beam and shock the shit out of you. They can do it at range. And I just can't wait to see that shit, because that ought to be really interesting. All right, well, that's all I got for today. I'm not going to film again until probably Monday night, maybe Sunday night, depending on when I get back from Philadelphia. Anyway, that's all I have. You guys take it easy.